It's just two people talking about acting like idiots on LinkedIn.
I love it. I love it. I'm very good at that.
There you go. Right on. All right. You ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Oh, shoot. I'm going to move my thing up. I didn't do
Yeah,
this.
you should.
I need this. This is important. All right. Let's go. What's up, UX fam? How's your mom and them? Welcome to another episode of Beyond UX Design. I'm Jeremy. If you're new here, welcome to the show. I am super stoked to have you. This week's episode is brought to you by Figma Academy from Dive Club. Now, we usually talk soft skills here in the show, but let's not forget that hard skills are just as important too, and mastering tools like Figma is crucial. Now, in the past, we've talked about knowledge debt and how you'll pay for learning either with your time or with your money. Well, if you don't have time to learn it on your own, Figma Academy is your fast track to mastering Figma, and you'll be in good company too. Over 4,000 designers from industry leaders like Shopify, Microsoft, and Amazon have already signed up. The course is hands-on, and you'll be part of a talented cohort of designers. Plus, they host a live Q&A session every Thursday to clear up any questions that you have. You want your company to foot the bill? Well, lots of designers have done just that, and Figma Academy even offers an expense template to make it a breeze to get approval from your boss. And because you're all awesome listeners, I've teamed up with Figma Academy to offer you a $100 discount. Just head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/Figma and use the promo code BeyondUX at checkout. So don't wait. Kickstart your Figma mastery journey today. Have you picked up your copy of my new book, Beyond UX Design, Master Your Craft Beyond Pixels and Prototypes yet? Unlock the secrets of UX success and learn all the things that they didn't teach you in school. And use the promo code LISTENER to get 10% off your copy. Just head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/book to pick up your copy today. And if you haven't done it already, please consider subscribing to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. If you are regular here and you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would really appreciate you leaving a 5-star review. That'll help me out so much more than you can imagine. And as always, thanks so much to Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Radu, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, and Michelle for all their support. And if you want to join those fine folks and many others and help keep the show independent and ad-free, you'll get rough transcripts and exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes, including episodes before they're even released. And you can get instant access to those video archives for as little as $5 a month. And for more information on how you can support the show and help more people find out about what we're doing here, make sure to check out beyonduxdesign.com/support. And of course, if you think the show is worth sharing, then I would love it if you told some friends. So I've got somebody I'm really excited to have on the show today. One, Grace Ling, founder of Design Buddies. You may have heard of them. They're kind of popular. Grace is really awesome at social media and LinkedIn, and she brings her own special approach to networking on LinkedIn. I'm really excited to talk to her about LinkedIn. As most of you guys know out there, that's the only place I go. I don't mess with Twitter and TikTok and all that stuff. So I'm kind of like all in on LinkedIn, and I love what Grace is doing over there. Grace is a UX designer, a founder, an illustrator. She leads the charge at Design Buddies, a thriving community that she founded that boasts over 60,000 members dedicated to honing design skills and securing jobs. She brings her expertise to electronic arts as a UX designer, where she develops products aimed at creators. A Silicon Valley native, Grace's journey in design is self-taught, underpinned by her academic background in bioengineering and computer science and engineering. And before diving into the world of design, she was involved in creating virtual reality games, focusing on surgical training and making science education engaging, which I think I know where she found how to keep LinkedIn the same. Her entrepreneurial spirit also led her to run an art business and tabled at anime events, which, by the way, I didn't know what that was. I had to ask Grace. An avid traveler, Grace's explorations have taken her to more than 30 countries, and her notable achievements and unique perspectives have garnered attention, leading to features in prominent media outlets like New York Times Square, the Wall Street Journal, KTSF, KQED, the San Jose Mercury News, and more. Grace, welcome to Beyond UX Design. I am so excited to have you on. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on. I've been a big fan of your podcast and love the interviews y'all do with other creators too.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to have you on. And like I said, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is you have this special approach to LinkedIn. And I don't know if, I think you mentioned this or someone mentioned you're like known as like the girl who dances on LinkedIn or something like that. And I just love how, LinkedIn is such a stuffy, or traditionally at least, was such a stuffy place. And there's people just, sign up for LinkedIn and they only update their profile when they get laid off or they're looking for a job. But it's an engaging, thriving social media community that I feel like a lot of people are just sort of ignoring because it's traditionally seen as like old white dudes in suits. And you were bringing and just incredible new energy to the space. And I just love following you and engaging with you on LinkedIn. So tell me a little bit about, we've talked a little bit, I read your bio, obviously. You got a lot of stuff there, but I would love to hear a little bit about you, your background, and ultimately, how'd you get to be, such like a force on social media and LinkedIn especially?
Yeah, growing up, I was born and raised in Silicon Valley.
That's cool, by the way. Most people move to Silicon Valley. Not a lot of people like grow up there,
Yeah, I still live there. I like love it here. But like it's interesting. Like, as a kid going to school, everyone was like, you gotta be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer in order to be like what society deems as success. And I was always really rebellious, and I was a class clown. I actually got sent to the principal's office so many times because of like random poop jokes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
Thank you. I was a trollmaker. Like, I just love making people laugh and feel entertained since I was like in elementary school. I just thought school, in my opinion, for me, I struggled a lot with school because I feel like school we're taught to like follow instructions and get measured based on how much you memorize things. And like my brain ain't vibing with that. I just love making people laugh and feel entertained, which carries on to like how I carry myself on LinkedIn, social media, and Design Buddies today. Because like I was also influenced by society a little bit, and I was an avid cross country track runner in high school. I really wanted to like be a professional runner, and so I studied bioengineering because I want to learn how to biohack myself to run faster. Because of that.
Wow, that's cool.
Thank you. I branded it as pre-med to sound prestigious, but like I just want to
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. And then
I mean, it's kind of pre-med. Like, what does pre-med even mean, really?
I told him I wanted to be a neurosurgeon.
That's hilarious.
Thank you. But then like I did a couple of internships. Like honestly, like I hate memorizing things. I think it's like so annoying. Like I didn't really like that aspect of medicine. So like I switched over to computer science engineering because I had to make games. Like I didn't really care about coding. I just want to make games, like the best games ever. And I needed to code, had to make games. But like I like didn't really, after doing a couple like software engineering internships and game dev internships, I was like, my brain ain't thinking that way. Like code is like hard. It's like I'm very visual. Like I like talking to people. I visualize things, and I found it like very too abstract for my brain to handle that. So I like UX design because it combines like my interest in like art. I always liked to draw growing up, and then science, engineering, and then plus honestly, like I love like combining like art and science, but also it pays very well in tech without needing to code, which I loved. That is why. But how I kind of mature myself on social media is because like I started posting on LinkedIn honestly because I wanted a job, and when I was career pivoting to UX design, I didn't have any network in UX design, and like all the hiring managers, design leaders, they hang out on LinkedIn. So I was like, all right, gonna use LinkedIn. So this was 2020.
Go where your audience is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Our target audience, optimizing them. But like kind of a bit more my background is since 2014, I've actually been creating content for like over 10 years now on the internet, which is crazy to think about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was in high school. I actually sucked at writing. Like my language arts skills were grades were like trash. And I was like, I started writing on Tumblr. I had this blog called I Run Grace Pace because running was such a huge part of my life. And I was like, I'll just write about what's going on in my life, and running's going on. So I just like posted on Tumblr. I remember talking about like how like stressed out I was about school, how much I loved running, how I was stressed out about the competition. And like I was just like sharing a lot of like stories about myself. And suddenly like I think like 8,000 people followed me within a year, and I was getting like brand deals on Tumblr. Which is crazy. Like I like from writing on the internet, because like I wanted to read my skills. I didn't want to write into the void. So I was like, I'll just like dump my thoughts on Tumblr. It feels like pretty anonymous and like no one really knows. But like it was like really fun. I expected my favorite part of it was being able to improve my skills, but also connect with others through content creation. So I later carried that energy to like Instagram and LinkedIn. And then 2020, it was during COVID. And before 2020, I felt like LinkedIn was such like an intimidating place. It's where people be like, I'm excited to announce I landed fancy software engineering role at a big company.
Sure, yeah.
And meanwhile, here I'm like, I feel like a small potato. Like, what is this place? But like for me, I always like to be different. Like I was always rebellious. I was like, then I see the norm. I was like, all right, how can I go against the norm? And so I just like started posting about like what I'm doing. I think my first post that went viral was actually I posted how I got Zoom bombed at our first Design Buddies meetup. And that post I got viral. I was like, oh wow, this is like pretty vulnerable. You will like resonate with that. I also posted like how I learned like how to like do meetups, like what I learned after my Zoom meetups and stuff. And I started sharing like what I'm learning, what I'm doing, what I'm struggling with, what I'm excited about on LinkedIn. So it's been about 4 years now posting regular LinkedIn. And I just experiment with a lot of different types of content. And I feel like for me, the why I like to be different on LinkedIn is like I'm not afraid of rejection and like trolls. I feel like I don't know, there's like I can't please everyone. Not everyone's my target audience. Like
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
want to meet people who are fun. So I put out my own energy who are fun so I can connect with people who are fun.
I love that though, because that's the thing. Like one of the things I was going to ask you, and you mentioned it already, but what's kind of wrong? What would you find wrong with LinkedIn? And you mentioned like it's very stuffy. Like I always like to call like old white dudes in suits that just like like I'm proud to announce the promotion of my VP of blah blah blah. And it's funny because like so many people just assume that and they still think that way. And I think LinkedIn has definitely changed a lot just in the last year. And I've only been posting on LinkedIn really for a year. I've been like kind of the same as everybody else. Like I'd only update my profile when I needed a new job or whatever. And I think there's so many things like especially people like you that are using LinkedIn to teach in an engaging way. And that's something like you mentioned this in your bio. You mentioned this when you were talking a minute ago. You were really bored in school and like the kind of memorizing things. And I think, when we think about, things like the humor effect or the bizarreness effect, things that are sort of weird and wacky and out of place, we remember those things more. And a lot of people, like old stuffy people, like that's not professional. Like you can't post that on LinkedIn. It's funny because I feel like so many people miss the point though that doing those things, it stands out, it's unique, but it also helps you retain information in a more compelling way. It's funny because you mentioned like you didn't do well in school. I went to Catholic school and I went all the way from kindergarten all the way up to senior year in high school. And it was, shut up, sit down, stand up straight, like shave your, cut your hair, all that stuff. It's so serious, But my kids, they go to Montessori school, which is funny because it's like it's so different. It's like explore what you want to explore and you learn in an engaging way and it's more fun. And my kids love learning. And I see so many parallels, I think, between like that Montessori concept. And I think a lot of people miss that, but that Montessori concept and things that you and like other people who are engaging on social media, are doing, and it's helping people though. That's the thing. Like so many old stuffy shirts, they just like, they forget that, they miss that, or I don't know if they forget it, they don't even realize it. I don't know. It's just not what they're used to, but who cares? Like it doesn't matter, I don't know. I'm just curious what you're thinking there. Is
Yeah.
that something you've ever thought about? Is it conscious or is it just like your personality? I'm curious.
It's just my personality. I was always like that. And I always like rebelling. Like I was always like, I like kind of going against the grain because I feel like normal is boring. That's always something I had growing up. And I don't know, people tell me I can't do something. I'm like, all right, why not? So like I live life for asking for forgiveness more than asking for permission, as long as it's legal.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just gotta do
love
it.
that.
Like I don't really think about for me, like as long as I'm not harming anyone or doing something that's not like not legal, then I will just do whatever. And I don't want to like change myself to fit into any platform because I feel like not everyone's my target audience. And I feel like y'all don't live life for other people. You live life for yourself. And as long as you put yourself out there, you will attract people who are similar to you. And so for me, I like connecting with fun people on LinkedIn. So I put out fun energy. So I attract fun people and like whoever is boring, like I don't want to read them anyways. I don't care. So that's why I do that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like what made you want to start posting on LinkedIn a year ago?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually had Trevor Nielsen on not long ago, and I credit Trevor with the reason why I post on LinkedIn pretty regularly. So, I have this podcast. I've been doing the podcast for like since October of last year. So, and I had a podcast before that, which I did for a couple of years. Started before COVID, and I would just go on LinkedIn and just post, Tuesdays or Thursdays, whatever it was. Like I have a new episode, and nobody would, maybe like my friends, my wife every once in a while would like it, it was like a couple of likes, like clearly it didn't resonate with really anybody. And the downloads really kind of showed that, to be honest, like it wasn't really increasing. It was the same number of people every time. And it wasn't until Trevor and I had a conversation actually, and he was like, people know you're selling stuff. Like people get that, like they can tell you're just trying to sell your shit to them, And I was like, damn, dude. I was like, shit, you're so right. And that was, Trevor was like, you need to post other stuff, like post helpful things, post things that aren't just you giving back, essentially. That was really when I started kind of posting regularly on LinkedIn, was like to give back, not in a selfish way, because obviously, I mean, the point is to get people to listen to the show, but it's also to give back. It's to engage. It's to help other people and to do that. And so, but again, to your point, it wasn't, it was like trying to be kind of interesting and entertaining at the same time, so that it wasn't just like some academic sounding, report, or you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So that's kind of where I kind of started. And it's funny because like it started off in sort of a selfish kind of way for me to like and get people to listen to my stuff. Like I wanted them to come to me. But what I found was that doing that, I met so many like amazing people just on LinkedIn alone, and these people, there's way more people out there in Twitter and everywhere else, Instagram and stuff. But I just met so many like amazing people like you, friends. I mean, you through LinkedIn, like I've met so many people just from doing it. And then that became the reason why I do it now, is to meet more people, to obviously they're still in the background, like wanting people to listen to the show, but that's a secondary thing. Like that comes along with the networking, does that make sense? I don't know. It kind of started off as sort of a selfish thing, obviously, but then like over time it evolved into like I'm here for the party kind of thing,
Yeah.
Like I'm here for the laughs, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I resonate with that.
Does that make
a
sense?
lot.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's
cool.
what's on LinkedIn as well. And then more friends I make, more thing I can learn from other people, help each other, like more opportunities as well, ultimately. But it's all the fun. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. Like, even if we were all posting really smart, engaging, intelligent things, if it was just that, I don't think that many people would stay engaged over time. Like they would get what they need and then they move on somewhere else. And like, the ultimate goal is to not get followers. The ultimate goal isn't to get downloads on the podcast. And the ultimate goal, I feel like for me, the ultimate goal is community. And, obviously for some people it's to make money, it's to, pay their bills and things like that. But the community piece, I feel like, is so important for us as the people who are sharing information, but also the people who are learning information, because it keeps them wanting to come back and wanting to learn. And I think that's what like all those like old shirts, the people who like look down on content creators, I don't think they realize the value in the engagement piece. Like it's valuable for the learners. It's not there to just like get the dopamine hit of the like. It's there to make those people want to learn more, want to like have fun learning, And I feel like that's what so many people are missing, but I feel like that's what you and like other people are getting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever thought about it that deeply, but I've thought about this a lot. And that's sort of where I feel like it's like it's a mutually beneficial thing.
Yeah, no, I think of it very similarly because like I do a lot of things for fun, like not paid or anything, but also when I do things for fun, I enjoy my life, but also more opportunities come to me. So I think we can have both community, money, all like mutually benefit each other. It's not like mutually exclusive at all.
Exactly. And like, so just to clarify too, like the point of this episode today, it's not to talk about content creation. It's to talk about networking and using LinkedIn to build that community, to build your network, which ultimately is a safety net, and that's kind of how it's insurance. It's like, it helps you get the job, but once you don't have the job anymore, it helps you find another job, or it helps you get freelance work or whatever, right? And so it's mutually beneficial. And I think that's something that like so many people just forget it when they think of social media. They think of fun. They think of frivolous. Frivolous might be a good word to describe that. But I feel like that's the thing. It's not frivolous. It's actually beneficial for everybody. Now assuming you're sharing the right content. Like there's people out there that share bullshit, that share fake, misinformation, if you want to call it that, or other things that are there to just promote their own thing and they're lying to people or copying other people's stuff and it's not original. That's obviously not the kind of stuff we're talking about. But I don't know. I feel like there's so much to that, like just having fun and making it fun.
I agree. It's more sustainable in the long term. And I feel like life should be enjoyed. Like don't change yourself. Don't change yourself for anyone else. So that's not fun, in my opinion.
Here's what I'm curious. We talked a lot about like posting stuff on LinkedIn. Is there a line for you? Like, what would you not post?
I don't really know.
What would you say? Like, I don't think I do. I wouldn't go that far. That you might though post on another platform, or maybe there is no line for you. Maybe you see them as the same.
So I kind of tweak my posts a little bit for like LinkedIn versus Twitter versus Instagram. Those are my three main platforms. For LinkedIn, I try to focus my posts on something that would be like valuable. So whether that be like a practical skill, inspirational, motivational, like a story. And for Instagram, I like to post more like travel and lifestyle because I feel like LinkedIn people like there to like get inspired or want to learn something. On Instagram, it's like, oh, I want to see where you travel to. So I do like travel stuff on Instagram,
Okay.
mainly. And I try not to like repost too much content because I know a lot of people follow me on like all platforms. I don't want them to get like bombarded with the same thing. And on Twitter, it's like more of my random fleeting thoughts. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Like just random brain farts or random like thoughts I have. I do this on like Twitter and like Threads as well. And Facebook sometimes too. I still use that because I have a lot of like older friends who are on Facebook. Yeah, so Instagram's more LinkedIn. Yeah, so like LinkedIn, I try to like gear it towards like people who want to learn or feel inspired. Instagram, it's like, oh, more for fun, like what I'm doing, where I'm traveling to.
I love that. So I'm curious about LinkedIn versus the others too. Is there like a professional sort of threshold where you say that's just not appropriate for LinkedIn? Is that ever something that crosses your mind?
I feel like as long as like for me, I've been through a lot of horror stories in my life, and as long as it doesn't harm anyone, I can post it. Like if I went through an experience, I always never mention any names anywhere. So I wouldn't like name drop anyone. I wouldn't. I feel like on Instagram sometimes I go into more details, just because I feel like people who follow me, I have like a slightly smaller audience there as well. People who follow me, I had my Instagram since like high school, so like people who follow me there have seen my journey longer. And on LinkedIn, it's like, oh, I've only been active since 2020. So these are mostly like my professional connections. So I try to like remove some more like personal details as well. That's kind of like how I view it. I edit the captions on both ends.
That's really interesting. I love your approach to like treating them a little bit differently and stuff. And like I said, I only post on LinkedIn, but the reason why I post on LinkedIn more than anything else is I was really big on social media back in the day. Like I was in Facebook when like, before when it was even MySpace, like, or before before Facebook was really big, it was MySpace. I was on MySpace. I was on LiveJournal and stuff back in high school. This was like late 90s. And I used to be like big into that. And then Facebook when it was the Facebook and you had to have like a college email, back in the day. And then I was on Twitter when Twitter got, started, when Twitter was big. And then like, I just got like so sick of social media. I'm like, I don't care about like the personal stuff. So like I'm on, this is something too I think I want people to think about is like, you shouldn't be on these social medias because you think you have to be. You should be on them because there's a goal and there is an outcome that you're trying to hit, right? And so for you, your goal I think is a little different than like even my goal, and it would be very different from maybe some of the listeners' goals. So it's kind of interesting to kind of think about like just between us, like where we post and why we do it. But for me, it's like a lot of it is like the professional aspect of it. And so like I post just generally speaking, like more, I don't want to just call it quote unquote professional versus personal because I kind of mix a lot. Like I'll have like interesting stories from like my personal life that kind of apply to UX design. But like I very rarely will post like I'm never going to post like pictures of my kids or, like something, whatever I cooked for dinner last night, where like on Twitter or Instagram or something, maybe I would have done that. You know what I mean? But it's like a goal. It's like having that outcome. Like, what are you doing it for? And the reason why I personally chose LinkedIn was because it's not anonymous. And I actually really appreciate that it's not anonymous because what I found is the anonymity on something like Twitter brings out the worst in us, I think, often. And you'll find like the animosity on Twitter is higher. The like vitriol on Twitter tends to be higher. People are just meaner because they can hide behind like a fake anonymous account. Whereas LinkedIn, it's like, I can see where you work. I know who you work with. I know like who your colleagues are and everyone can see that. And so it tends to, I think, lower the meanness. I don't know if there's a better word than that.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious, like from your perspective, like, have you noticed that on LinkedIn versus Twitter, like these other places?
Yeah, I feel like I can't remember any single negative comment I had on LinkedIn actually, or maybe I just like didn't care enough to remember. I feel like sometimes in my DMs, people like think LinkedIn's like a dating website. So that's like the weirdness of LinkedIn.
Oh, that's really I want to dig into that a little bit. Keep going. Anyway, don't let me forget about that because I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yes, I have crazy stories about that as well. But on Instagram and on Twitter, for me, like So for me, I try to be as cancelable as I can. So I always say, like, in my opinion, in my experience, because people can't deny that because it's like my experience. So I try to like talk that way. That's why like I haven't really experienced any like negativity. I guess the example like negativity I would experience these days is like, oh, people say like Design Buddy sucks. But like I'll be like, tell me more. I want to know why it sucks. Like trying to treat it as like feedback, like user feedback. But before, when I was on Tumblr, when I had the anonymous messages on, I got trolled. Like I had, so I was like in the fitness community, and like in the fitness community, people take fitness and like nutrition, health very like personal. So like everyone has their own opinions, backgrounds about things. So like I would get a lot of comments about that as well, like running form and like anonymous stuff. But like I experienced the most like I guess like negativity when I had the anonymous inbox on Tumblr when I was a kid, which was like a lot to deal with as a kid. But like
I
taught me
bet.
a lot.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. Like my parents said that like I was like posting too many things online and it made me feel very exposed. I was like, oh, I'm just trying to help people. But yeah.
I am actually kind of terrified because my kids are 5 and 7.
No.
And they're too young for all that stuff now, but it's only a matter of time. Like I've got my 7-year-old already is like trying to connect with his friends on Roblox and like Minecraft and all this stuff. And I'm like, who are you talking to? Like, like, cause he can like, he can talk and chat and type and stuff. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I was like, it's only a matter of time before we're going to have like, the hidden social media account.
That was me on
crazy.
Neopets at 7 years old. I was talking to, oh my God, like this is so random. But like on Neopets, like apparently MySpace was blocked and people kept asking for my MySpace. Like I thought I pretend I was like 13, I was like 7. And they wanted to like connect with me there. I didn't know what MySpace was. And when I asked my parents,
that like terrifies me so much.
And I asked my parents, like, what's MySpace? They're like no.
Oh no. Oh my God. Yeah, that like terrifies me, honestly, like thinking about my kids doing that. Cause I have one kid, he's so honest, like he'll tell me everything, and my other one, he's the sneaky one. He's the one who like sneaks stuff, snacks, he's like, and he's the younger one too. So he sneaks stuff. He'll like hide stuff in his bag and like, bring it up into his room and eat crap in his room he's not supposed to. And like take stuff to school he's not supposed to. And I'm just like, oh God, he's going to be the one that's going to be sneaking around with his like, hidden TikTok account. And I'm sure
I'm the sneaky one.
That was you?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, so like here, I want to ask you a little bit. I want to pivot a little bit. Actually, no, before we do that, I want to ask you real quick about this because this is something that I find mind-boggling because I feel like LinkedIn, again, very professional. Like it's you can have fun, right? But there's a level of professionalism around the having fun part. And I've heard from so many women on LinkedIn that guys will message them the just most wildly inappropriate things like, hey, you're really pretty, like let's connect, or just stuff like that. And that is something, you mentioned this, so I want to talk about this. That's something that happens to you?
Yes, it
regularly?
does. Yeah, I just ignore it though.
That blows my mind that men do that. I mean, I like to think of myself as somewhat of a feminist. My wife is like hardcore feminist and she maybe has influenced me, but I feel like even before we just started dating, I was similar to this. But like, I just can never imagine ever at work, even like at a bar, even if I was single. Hey, you're really pretty. Like the pickup lines and stuff like, hey, like I was never that kind of dude. And it just sort of blows my mind that people do that on LinkedIn. And I'm just, if you're a dude listening right now, don't fucking do that. Like, just don't fucking do that. I don't know how else to say that. Don't fucking do that. It doesn't work. It's so fucking sleazy. And I just, oh God, that makes me angry that people do that. I'm sorry that you have to deal with that as a woman. And any woman listening, if you put up with that, I apologize on behalf of all men everywhere, even though I obviously can't control it. But is there anything you'd like to say about that? Like, how does it make you feel? I'm curious. How does it make you feel as a woman?
For me, because I put myself on the internet, I'm like very jaded. And so like, I want to say like, you don't owe anyone a response. You don't have to reply to everyone. You don't owe them anything. So you can just like block them if it makes you comfortable or just ignore them. Yeah, they don't have any place in your life and there's so many other things to think about, and don't let those people bother you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had any advice for people that are happening to. That's some good advice. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk about this idea of personal brand. And obviously, you've got a brand. You hear a lot of people talk about personal brand. You hear a lot of people talking negatively about personal brand and how they think it's a stupid idea. I have my personal opinions. I happen to think it's a valuable thing for networking when you think about brand. I'm going to talk a little bit about that from your perspective. Is that something you've actively tried to cultivate? Do you feel like that's something you've thought about your personal brand, or do you feel like it's just sort of organically evolved? And what are your thoughts around that in general about personal brand?
Yeah, I feel like personal brand is like a sense of like self-awareness. Like, what do you offer? What are your strengths that are different than anyone else? And how do you portray that on the internet? And it's something that always evolves at whatever stage of life you are at. But essentially, it's like, what's your value proposition? Like, what makes you stand out? So for me, like, I would describe, I feel like a lot of times people like complicate it, like, oh, you need like a branding, like a visual style guide, what tone of voice.
Yeah,
But it's
right.
like, ultimately, all of y'all already have it. It's just a matter of like understanding what your unique value proposition is and like how you want to express that and be yourself out there. So for me, for example, like I like just to be fun. I like doing a lot of events, community stuff, and so everything I do is like fun. I want people to like be happy and have a laugh. That's why I like dance on LinkedIn as part of that, and I draw like a lot of like cute pastel bunnies and stuff to align with that as well, so people can like easily recognize it's me. I also feel like in this job market, a lot of people like are, I guess like this is like early 2024. I feel like with all the layoffs and like AI and all that jazz, standing out has, and it's going to be more important than ever because there's so many designers in the job market that I can see. And you can, it's of course like have your skills, like design skills, like have a portfolio, be always have good skills, but also making sure you're noticed because you can have the best, you could be a super skilled designer, but if no one knows who you are, you don't get anywhere. So putting yourself out there and showcasing how unique you are has helped me land a lot of opportunities because like that's actually how I got my job at EA without applying is I worked really hard on my skills and then I just like talked about it everywhere on LinkedIn and then I cold reached out to my hiring manager. So I already had skills, personal brand, and then networking and how I got jobs.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so you mentioned something too that I think I just want to call out is like it's not logos. It's not style guides. It's not like visual design and making sure, it's just like you said, it's all about how you're remembered. And the thing that I feel like the people who just like, who hate personal brand, when they say they hate personal brand, they say the exact same thing that the people who are promoting personal brand are saying is just be yourself.
Yeah.
But the thing is, be yourself intentionally. Like understand what that is. Like be intentional about what being yourself means, if that makes sense. It means like how do you talk? Like what things will you talk about? What things won't you talk about? And I feel like so many people just sort of forget. It's like it happens. Your brand is there whether you design it or not, or whether you're intentional about it or not. And I feel like so many people just ignore that and just sort of let it be. And it's very similar to me to like customer service or customer experience or UX. It's like the users have an experience. The customers have an experience, whether the team has been actively thinking about it or not. And you could let it happen and hope for the best, or you could actively try to cultivate that experience, just like you said, so that you do stand out among the sea of other people trying to fit in.
Yeah, people overcomplicate things. You can have a visual design if you want, but like, you don't have to.
Exactly. And I think that's maybe part of the problem is like advertising is sort of bastardized brand.
Yeah.
They've made it to where we assume a brand is a logo, right? And it's like, that's not like somebody, who's it? I saw a post online. It's like, if Nike opened up a hotel, you know what that hotel would look like. If Hyatt opened a shoe company or started a shoe company, you have no idea what those shoes would look like. Like, what is Hyatt? It's just like a bunch of freaking hotels. But Nike has a brand. You mentioned, the layoffs and stuff right now, and it's like thousands of people are applying for the same job. If you're lucky, 100 people have applied to that same job. The chances are incredibly high that 90% of them are perfectly qualified for that job. How do you stand out among the other 89 perfectly qualified candidates? And I feel like to me, it's this networking, it's the brand. It's like how you make those people interviewing you feel. And they say, oh, I really like Grace. I like talking to Grace. Like she had some really interesting things to say. And that's like how, you make people feel when they talk to you. And so many people just ignore that. I don't know. I hate that. It drives me crazy.
I feel like people just try to mold themselves as a template. They try to be the same and forget about who they are.
So here's what I want to ask you about. When we think about personal brand, what are some advice for up-and-coming designers to help foster their own brand, to find it, to encourage it, or whatever? What is some advice that you might have for helping to come up with that idea in the first place?
Yeah, like reflecting on your interests and backgrounds. Like, for example, you're interested in working in the games industry or interested in working in like health tech. and finding like what about your interests and what about your background aligns to that industry. Because I feel like it's a way to stand out when you're applying for jobs and stuff to highlight why you're specifically interested in this job and just kind of like share experiences and create content about that. I also feel like personal brand, it's like something you can find over time. So I like to do things, I like to think of myself as like doing things and telling people about it. So I'm like always going to events, talking to new people, doing new projects, and then talking about it on LinkedIn and seeing what goes from there. So the combination of like reflecting on what you would want to do and what you're curious about working on and telling people about that and doing things that are relevant to your niche, your interest, your topic area, and then telling people about that as well. And also like don't feel like you can just start today. Like right now, action item for everyone today. If you never posted on LinkedIn, make an introduction post. Say like, hey, I am Nate. I am a UX designer. I like doing this. My background is in this, and I'm looking for to connect with people who are in this. So something like that, something really simple. So like action item for that. And then like see who comments, see who reaches out, and then just kind of go from there. But just do it. Like don't overcomplicate things. Like you already have your brand. Don't let all these like logos, fanciness like stop you from doing it. You got this. Hope y'all. And if you make a LinkedIn post, introduction post, tag Jeremy, tag Grace. We'd love to like see it.
Yeah, seriously, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Hell yeah. I'd love to know. Please tag me. I'll even repost it. So one of the things that I think is interesting too, you kind of called this out a little while ago. I just want to kind of tie it back to what you said originally, is this idea of personal brand. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you was really about making LinkedIn fun, but that's your personal brand. So when we think about personal brand, it's not like you have to mimic Grace. You don't have to be like Grace. That works for Grace. It might not work for you. So finding that thing that you want to show the world, you want to, that face that you want to share to the world, and actively, reinforce it over time. The other thing that I think is really interesting, and you mentioned this, like, you don't ask for permission and stuff, and I want to tie it back to that, is one of the things that I think a lot of people kind of overlook with the personal brand is it's your opportunity to weed the companies out that you don't want to work for in the first place. When you go on and you have fun and you dance and stuff, I imagine part of what you're thinking is, I would never want to work for a company that wouldn't want me to dance on LinkedIn. Right?
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
And I think that's something like so many people like overlook. Like we have the power as employees to turn down a job that we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's certain scenarios where you can't and you don't want to because you need the money. And there's certainly a level of privilege that goes along with that, I think. I want to call that out. Some people can't afford to turn down jobs. But if you are in a place where you can be more selective, be more selective. Like don't get a job where you're going to feel like posting about your side hustle on LinkedIn is going to get you in trouble. Don't be afraid to get a job where you say something wrong and you get reprimanded for it at work. If that's what you believe, you want to find a place where they will embrace that, and it might take some time to find. It might mean you aren't as, I don't know what the right word is, aren't as impressive to some companies, right? And some companies won't want to hire you, but you may end up looking more impressive and more desirable to the companies who do want that. And I think that's part of personal brand for me is weeding out the companies that wouldn't want me to do those things. Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah, I feel like for me, I don't mind connecting with like anyone, but like I would never want to work for an environment where they disallow me to do any side hustles and public speaking and stuff. So like, yeah, I guess so. Cause I feel like when you're interviewing with companies, you're just as much interviewing them as well. And you want to find a place that will respect you and value you for who you are. And you want to work for an environment where you feel like you can just be yourself and not have to change yourself to fit in and be successful in that environment.
And mental health, I mean, I should have mentioned this before, but like mental health is so important. And I feel like it's something we've been talking a lot more about, especially after the pandemic. Mental health is such an important thing. If you can find a job where you don't have to worry about your mental health in the first place, it's just a fun environment. You don't have to worry about, taking mental health days because you didn't need them in the first place because you feel fine, you enjoy work. And, that's certainly easier said than done. Again, there's a certain level of sort of privilege there. It's finding the balance, like how authentic can you be, to scare off just the right number of employees so that you're not scaring off every employee, potential employer. And I think there's a level of balance there that I don't know. I think some people maybe take it too far sometimes and scare off the companies they would have wanted to work for. So anyway, I don't know. This is sort of a personal thing. I think you have to reflect on that and decide like what's comfortable for you and what's not.
And what are your goals for posting stuff? And as I feel like my guidelines, like as long as I'm not harming anyone, it all goes out. As long as it doesn't harm anyone.
All right, cool. So the last thing I want to talk to you about today is just like final thoughts, like advice for some junior designers, career shifters. You just sort of, I think what you just said is a little bit of advice you probably might repeat or whatever, but advice for junior designers, career shifters looking to potentially get on social media, to be themselves, to have more fun when it comes to networking. Any advice that you'd give some people that are just sort of like been wallflowers the whole time, standing, lurking in the shadows and not really engaging?
Yeah, kind of two things. Like first, make that intro post and tag us so we can engage with it and see who connects with you.
Yeah, you're right.
And I feel like that will give you a lot of motivation to keep posting on LinkedIn to connect with others and like kind of frame it as your goal is connection. Don't have any expectations going in, but the goal should be making friends and then see how you can help each other and see how that goes. That intro post, and also keep doing things like doing design challenges, doing events, and talking about that on LinkedIn. So just keep posting on LinkedIn and see who comes. And I feel like it's like a muscle. I feel like content creation and networking, it didn't really come naturally to me. I've been doing it for many years now, but it's like a muscle you can build. Important. You might see someone post on LinkedIn, like both of us, Jeremy and Grace, like we might post like every day on LinkedIn and you guys feel like, oh my God, I can't do that. But like just start small, like start posting like once a week, once every 2 weeks. And then as you kind of improve your writing muscles, you'll get better at that. And I feel like posting on LinkedIn and having as really valuable for opportunities to come to you instead of you seeking them out too, as well as improving your communication skills, your writing skills, which will help you in your career. Because like posting on LinkedIn has given me like better writing skills, so I can better write my design documentation, better collaborate effectively. So I think of it as like career development as well, not just like for the clout, but for your actual tangible skills.
That is brilliant advice. I love
that. Yeah, thank you. Also, I feel like posting on LinkedIn has given me a lot of like weird opportunities. I have like a funny story I can share as well.
Oh, please do.
It has to do with that.
That's why we're here. Funny stories.
Yeah, I wasn't sure we were going to get into that question, but it's like the share posting about like using Hinge for networking. Personal branding, like, so it's not limited to LinkedIn, I'll say that. And it's not limited to like, you can do it on like Instagram and Twitter. And I have like wild stories about how my like shit posts that align to my brand has got to be featured on like the Times Square and Wall Street Journal for like a very random reason. So I guess like the example I wanted to give that ended up having a feature post about me for the Wall Street Journal is I was like using Hinge for networking and I was share posting that.
I totally forgot to ask you this. Oh God, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much for you're bringing it back. Good. Okay, good, go. Yeah, let's talk about this.
Yeah,
all right, I love this.
The thing I want to allude to is like, it's not just about your career. Like you can like take the randomest shit you do out there, like using Hinge for networking, and then like you'll put you on the walls. I have like
that is so funny.
I have a story about how to begin. It actually has to do with UX. Like,
let's hear it.
I feel like being post on social media essentially about anything, not just a career. It can like randomly get you featured on like, for me, posting on LinkedIn got me featured on Times Square, and posting on Twitter has got me featured on the Wall Street Journal and more.
You mentioned, yeah. So you mentioned Hinge, and this is so funny. When I heard that you did that, I was like, I'm curious, like, what made you think of that? Where did that idea come from? Like, I would have never been like, let me go on Tinder and try to network and find clients for freelance work. I just like, what made you do that? That's so funny.
Yeah, networking can happen on dating apps too. So like that's how. But like I'll preface this by saying that my parents might be listening right now and they don't know any of this, but I'm very unhinged. I'm like very unfiltered. So like I will be sharing this story for y'all today.
Okay, yeah. Grace's parents, cover your ears if you're listening. Cover your ears.
Yeah. This has to do with UX and networking too. So growing up, I was very sheltered about parents, PhDs, no dating until after PhD. Wow, okay. Yeah.
Oh my God. Geez. No dating. It was like when you're 30? Like
basically.
Oh my God.
And I remember, so I was trying to get into UX design at the end of 2019 when I was like graduating from college, and I was interviewing for this tech company, and their prompt, the interview assignment was to do a design challenge, and the prompt was design a mentor and mentee matching app for college students. I was like, all right, college students matching. Okay, what do they use? Competitive analysis. Download Tinder, download Bumble, download Facebook dating. And Oh my
Oh,
God,
that's so
like,
brilliant. Yeah.
yeah, I was like struggling to get a job in tech, and like I like strategically matched with folks, like a lot of software engineers at FANG companies, and they given me referrals, and I got some interviews from that. Um,
Wow.
and
Damn. That's
and
crazy.
my parents do not know this, but like I actually have met my ex on Facebook dating, and he worked at Facebook.
Oh, no way. So, hold on, this is funny. I've been married now for 12 or 13 years. I had no idea there was a Facebook dating app. There's a Facebook dating app, like a separate
Yeah.
app? Really? I had no idea.
It
That's
was
news
part
to
of the
me.
mobile
Okay.
app, but like one of tabs. It was like really
I
popular in
did not know. That's
2019,
great.
and I don't know. I would like find people on there that I already had
It's
mutual
just
friends
weird.
with.
It's like
Yeah,
the same app your grandma and your aunts and uncles and parents are on, and you're like in a dating app? That's so weird. That's such a bizarre. See, to me, that's just some random product manager coming with ideas. Like, oh, we need, this is like Feature Factory. This is like, no, that's so weird. That's weird. Facebook
Bizarre.
dating. That's so bizarre. It's like, hey, there's Uncle Frank. He's on the date, It's just like, what are you doing on here, Uncle Frank? I thought you were happily married, It's just so weird.
it will only match you with people you're not friends with yet, though. So, and they will like the algorithm is like find people who are in similar groups as you and like match you there.
But what if like okay, well, I guess they're using like all kinds of crazy like data about you that you probably didn't even know they were collecting. But like, I don't know. I guess that's true because they're like, if you would show up on you might know this person list, don't show up in Facebook. It's like the opposite. If doesn't show up, I can imagine that like conditional logic in the background to show the one list versus the other. It's like if not appears on whatever. That's so funny. Oh my God. That's hilarious. I can't believe I had no idea Facebook had that. Okay. Sorry. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No worries. Really it's funny how like my ex worked at Facebook and he told me he was like quote unquote testing the app. But like this is funny because like I ended up breaking up with him because I wanted to focus on design buddies and personal branding in my LinkedIn. This is like back in 2020. So that was like a funny story I can tell. And then this is so random, but when I turned 25 last year, I remember my parents were like, so you gotta think about your partner now. And I was like, but I'm married to my work. I'm married to design buddies.
It's like, I got engaged and everything. Look at this ring it bought me.
So I guess I don't have to have a PhD anymore. Not that I care about what they want from me anymore.
Yeah. I feel like you wouldn't make nearly as much money with a PhD. Well, maybe in tech you would, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe in tech you could pay, but.
Yeah. I don't think I want a PhD.
Most PhDs.
It's too much time. I don't want too much studying.
Well, it's a lot of money, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like insane. I mean, it depends on what school you go to, obviously. But like, I imagine you'd probably go to like Stanford or something like that, which I'm sure is not cheap.
No, yeah.
UC Berkeley or something. Anyway.
And then in 2023, I downloaded Hinge. And the reason why I did that was I was like, it was on Valentine's Day. So I was with my female friends and they're just like chatting about like their experiences on Hinge. And I was like, oh, I haven't dated in like 3 years. Like, what is this? Because I feel like when I broke up with my ex, like I wanted to focus on myself. Like I felt like a lot of imposter syndrome. I want to build myself up first, like really find who Grace is, strong, independent woman. And so I was like, I just made sure that was a thing I had. And I feel like 2023 was a very formative year for me. Like, I feel like now I'm just like vibing and thriving after like feeling like an imposter for so long. And I was like, all right, I guess like maybe I'm like trying this to see what happens. And for me, I'm like an avid networker. So like my experience using Hinge from like February to like November, I was like kind of in a mindset of like, hey, I'm like down to like network, make friends and see where it goes. So I had like 38% interviews. I call them interviews, like dates basically, but interviews.
Oh, that is so funny. Oh, I mean, isn't that kind of what like a first date is? It's sort of like an interview, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. I know like a lot of people will compare interviewing to dating and recruiting and stuff to dating.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Why
like,
not make it both ways?
Because like it's like the first interview is like a behavioral interview, and then sometimes you want to do some technical interview, like see how they good at performing the skill, and then the group interview, the panel with your friends.
Yes. Oh, that's so smart. That's hilarious. It is. That's so funny. Oh, that's so funny. The technical interview. I love the technical interview.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. So did he get hired, I guess? Did he get an offer?
He got hired. Yeah. Well, like I'm teaming with like 30 people because I'm like really picky. And like I try not to have a type, like try to be open-minded. And I really did my due diligence and tried to research during interviews as many
to get a referral and like ask for
referrals and stuff as well.
A reference. Sorry, a reference. Did you get a reference?
Yeah,
reference check,
I definitely
background
had a
check,
referral
credit
and
check?
a background check too. So I also like on my experiences on Hinge, like I like because a lot of people on when I was in dating apps back in 2019 giving me referrals to tech companies, I met some people who were laid off and I wanted to give back. Like so I gave them referrals to EA. Kind of like full circle, right? Because I was helped. I was like, oh, I just want to help them.
Yeah, it's
like,
great. I love it.
Yeah, so I've done that, like kind of full circle. And then I was like kind of shit posting on LinkedIn, like, haha, look at me using Hinge for networking. And like, it's so funny because a lot of people on Hinge, they knew me from LinkedIn and Design Buddies. Like, I wasn't like randomly interested, but I would just like still match with them so I can say like hi, just like for shits and giggles.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I guess you are somewhat of a celebrity, right? So yeah, people are, I guess if they're UX designers, they probably know design, but I mean, 60,000 people, that's a lot. The chances are good. There's people out there that, aren't even a part of Design Buddies, but still know of it.
Yeah. I get recognized at every tech event I go to. Yeah.
A lot of people probably know you. That's crazy.
Funny. And I was like shit posting on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm not on LinkedIn. I was shit posting on Twitter about using LinkedIn. I'm using Hinge for networking. And then the Wall Street Journal found me. They did an interview and I got a feature piece. Like I was the first feature using Hinge for networking. It was so funny. I was so proud of it that I posted it on LinkedIn about like, hey, I'm excited to announce I got featured in Wall Street Journal for using Hinge for networking. And then my dad reposted it on his LinkedIn and Facebook.
Did he realize what Hinge was, though?
I don't know.
Did he not know? I guess at that point, everybody just reads the headlines anyway. No one ever reads the article.
I think
that's fine.
I think it's like job seekers that head to dating apps or something about that.
That is so funny. Well, if that's the headline, yeah. But nobody reads the actual article. Come on.
Yeah.
No, that's so funny. I love that. All right. So Grace, we've been talking to you for a while now. Before we get out of here, any parting words of wisdom, anything we didn't cover that you think is really important when we talk about networking, having a good time networking, LinkedIn, whatever. Any parting advice for everybody listening out there before we jump into some stuff? I got some questions to ask you.
Yeah, for sure. Just do it. Like I feel like just make that intro post. Less thinking, more execution. Don't worry about being perfect. I feel like life is all about learning, iterating, and just launching things, doing it. And don't overthink things. Just do it. You already got what you have, and hope you slay and vibe and thrive. Just do it. Slay, vibe, thrive. Yes, that's it. Parting words of wisdom from Grace Ling. All right, Grace. So before we get out of here, I got some questions that we like to ask all of our guests. We got 5 questions, just some simple stuff to help all our listeners get to know you a little bit better. But before we do that, why don't you give yourself a plug? Let everybody listening out there know where they can find you, follow you, Design Buddies, connect with Design Buddies, and all that stuff. No, thank you. Yeah, I'm Grace Ling on LinkedIn. And also I run Grace Pace on Instagram, just like I run, and then Grace Leaf with the _ on Twitter. I'm also on TikTok and YouTube, just my names. I think TikTok is great as Candy Leaf. And on Design Buddies, you can just check out Design Buddies on Discord. Just search Design Buddies, just show up on Google. Real website, designbuddies.community. We also have on our own social media, have a newsletter and everything as well. So yeah, I also do a lot of like talks. Yeah. Right on. And you have you have a podcast that as of releasing this, the podcast would have been out, I think, right? Yeah, it's called Down the Rabbit Hole. We deep dive into topics in tech and AI and the implications of it all. Hell yeah. Fascinating stuff. All right, cool. So we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes. And so make sure to check out the show notes at beyonduxdesign.com. for all those links to find Grace, connect with Grace, and all that stuff. One thing I actually meant I was thinking of this as you mentioned, do that introduction post. I'm going to throw in a little incentive. You do an introduction post, you tag me and Grace. I'll send you a free badass holographic Beyond UX Design sticker. Just shoot me a DM or tag me and I'll shoot you a DM after you do that. We'll see how many people listen this far into the episode. If anyone actually does that. No, can't hurt to see it. All right. Little incentive. Get your badass holographic Beyond UX Design sticker. All right, great. So we got a few questions that I like to ask all my guests to help all my listeners get to know my guests a little bit better. First up, what is your favorite non-design book? Non-design book. I liked 4 Hour Work Week. It taught me how to work smart, not hard. And Rich Dad Poor Dad taught me investing mindsets. Right on. I love that. Yeah, that's really good. 2 very important things that most younger professionals don't even think about
until it's too late. So
Um,
those are really good. I love that. What is your favorite non-design podcast?
I like Sounds Like a Cult. They deep dive into modern day cults, like the cult of Elon Musk, cult of Taylor Swift, cult of
Oh, right on.
cult of veganism, cult of
So like things you wouldn't think of as like a cult, but still are kind of culty.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
cult
really
of
cool.
AI
Sounds like a
too.
cult.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
I have never heard of that. This is like an actual cult, but I just started watching this docuseries, Netflix, about Twin Flame Universe or Twin Flame something or other. You ever heard of this? It's like a cult, like a Facebook cult, and they're like an internet cult. So like, anyway, it's like they're like thousands of dollars you have to pay for these courses, and it's like finding your twin flame, your soulmate, kind of.
I'll check that
But
out.
they're like, yeah, it's like super bizarre, and they've made people get like gender transition surgeries and stuff that like didn't want it. It's just like super freaking weird. Anyway, sounds like a cult. That sounds like something I'd be into. I'm gonna check that out. All right. What is your favorite meal? This could be something you've cooked, something you've eaten out somewhere, something your grandma used to cook. Could be anything. Best thing you've ever eaten.
I like sushi.
Sushi. Okay.
Yeah. Anything that's colorful and aesthetic.
You guys out in Silicon Valley, California, probably got some pretty fresh, nice tasting sushi and stuff.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm in Cincinnati in the middle of Midwest, and it's funny. We went somewhere and they had seafood. I was like, "Where do you guys get your seafood?"
I don't know.
They said the airport. The airport. It comes from the airport. Overnight from probably somewhere, but yeah, it's all at least a couple days old. Don't eat seafood in Cincinnati. All right. What's your favorite vacation spot?
Ooh, I've been to like 20 countries in 2023, and I liked it a lot. I feel like I like new spots. I always like exploring new
You've
places.
traveled quite a bit.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
spent like
that's pretty impressive.
3 months traveling last year for fun and for
That's
business.
awesome.
I really liked Santorini and Mykonos, like the Greek
Ooh, yeah.
islands. Because it's like you got like the nice houses. It's very aesthetic,
Yeah,
and
so
it's like
pretty.
the mountains, the nature, the hiking, the ocean, the vibes. I also really like Singapore. I've been there over 10 times. My dad's from Singapore, but I like that place as
Okay.
well. It's like nice tropical tech, as well as nature, good vibes, lots of things to do, things to see. Yes, Greek islands and Singapore is I like.
I had the opportunity to go to Singapore for work, but I didn't go because I had just gotten back from another big trip for like a 2-week trip, and I was like, I can't go to that. And then I was like, I'll go next time. And then that I never got a chance to go. But Singapore's such a cool city state, I guess it is.
Yeah.
It's just like super cool.
Yeah, I was like the Caribbean. I just came back from it like 5 days ago. Snorkeling.
You like to cruise. That's something, I don't think you mentioned that in your bio, but you've been
I feel
cruising
like
a lot.
cruises. I feel like I cruise too much. Like I literally spent last year living 2 months on a cruise ship, and I think I like cruises, but in moderation now. So
Why is that? Is it because they're monotonous? Is it the money, or is it just you're stuck on a boat for so much time?
Stuck on a boat. I like land. I feel like I probably tried different cruise lines as well, but like I feel like every day was like Groundhog Day on Sea Day because the brand that I rolled with, they try to keep everything consistent so the passengers don't complain, which I understand. But like it makes all the events, the food the same. And I spent probably like 1 month total living on similar cruise ships. I was like, this feels the same. But like I love cruises because they're like a floating city and they can take you to many different countries in a very short time. So I like it as like a transportation. And like it's pretty luxurious as well for like, in my opinion, like a good price.
It's generally relatively inexpensive for what you get.
That's why. Yeah.
That's cool. I actually I've always wanted to do, and it's like super expensive, but like one of those like European river cruises.
Oh,
like
yes,
Viking
I did
river
Viking.
cruises
oh my
or
God,
something.
I went on that one. Yeah.
Did you do one?
Highly recommend.
How was that? Was that fun?
Yeah,
was it good?
So fun. I love like how we got to go on land and how there was a different city to explore every day.
Yeah.
The interesting part of it was like everyone was literally like older than like 50 or 60.
I know, everybody seems old.
I was actually the youngest person on the
You know what's funny? My dad, he's 70 now, and this was like when I was in college. This was like 2003, maybe. So he was in his 50s, I guess, back then. He and my stepmom did a paddle wheel cruise from New Orleans up to Nashville, I think it was. And I was going to LSU at the time in Baton Rouge, and it stops in Baton Rouge. So it takes like a whole day to go like 50 miles. So they go up to New Orleans, and he's like, "Yeah, do you want to come on the boat? We're going to have lunch on the boat." And I was like, "Sure, I'll go." My dad was the youngest person on that boat. He was like in his 50s.
Yeah, that seems
So
like
it's
it.
funny. Yeah, because like I only really know about Viking River cruises because my wife and I would watch Downton Abbey on, PBS. And they would always advertise Viking River cruises before Downton Abbey. And I feel like it's one of those things like we're probably like the youngest people watching Downton Abbey right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's so funny you mentioned that because my wife and I even talked about doing it at some point, and we were like, I bet we'd be the youngest people on those boats. And you've confirmed that for me. But
I liked how they focus on a lot of culture and history, though. Like I've been on the opposite. I've been on Virgin Voyages as well. It's like an adult party boat. It's so fun, but like it's all like partying. Wild parties, fun excursions and stuff. And Princess is kind of like in between. History. I feel like different cruise lines give very different vibes. So I feel like there's a cruise line for like every single type of cruiser, but it's also, I don't know. It's fun to explore. There's a lot of cruise lines out there.
Well, the thing I like about the idea of like, not necessarily the American river cruise, because there's probably not a lot to see, but like with European river cruises, I feel like there's just a ton of stuff to see.
Yeah.
Big, beautiful, like old cathedrals or buildings or castles or something. And, so that's one thing I always thought was like really interesting. Like, when one of the rivers in like in Germany or the Danube or something.
Oh yeah, the Danube. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that where you went? Yeah. And that one it's a big river, but the one I'm thinking of like it goes through like Budapest and stuff. And it's like really pretty, but there's like stuff to see, So like, it's not like a Caribbean cruise where you just like when you're at sea, you literally see the sea for like 2 days or whatever. Mm-hmm. But this one you can actually see it's like really pretty and there's something, Anyway, I love that. At some point in the future, I'm gonna do a Viking River cruise. At that point I probably won't be the youngest person on those boats anymore, but we'll see. I'll give you a full report.
Highly recommend.
I'll give you a full report. Highly recommend. All right. Last question. What is your favorite design tool that is not Figma?
I like Adobe Fresco and Procreate, the illustration tools on the iPad. I like how I started using Procreate for a while, but Adobe Fresco, like you can like make vector graphics like freehand. It's like I used to like make vector graphics through Illustrator and like click mouse, but like I like the freehand stuff. So like I like that aspect.
You got the pencil, Apple Pencil and stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. I've never had an iPad. So I try to like draw and stuff on like with a mouse and it's absolutely terrible. I usually just live trace crap on Illustrator. Yeah. I am really good with a pen tool though. I can the Bezier pen tool. Watch out. A lot of practice there with my years in advertising.
I'm more into hand drawing, but I need to practice. One of my goals is to get good at Illustrator.
Back in the day, I used to be in advertising before I got into UX design, and we would get random pictures for crap, and like it would have a background and that client would be like, put this on like a different color background. It's just, going over like all these like random things. We had like a company that did like industrial machinery and they wanted to put it on a white background. They took a picture, it's like full of mud and everything else. And they're like, can you Photoshop the mud off? And can you put it on like a white background? Like, it doesn't work like that. It's not how this works. But going and like tracing anyway, I got really good at the Bezier pen tool. Completely useless now for UX design, but for advertising, masking out random shapes, it was wonderful. But
nice.
Anyway. All right, cool. All right, Grace. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us on the Beyond UX Design podcast. I really appreciate your insights. Anybody listening out there, if you're thinking about posting online, LinkedIn especially, it does not have to be stuffy. Please just don't think of LinkedIn as like, I wish LinkedIn paid me to say this kind of stuff. I feel like I deserve to get some damn money from LinkedIn. All the money they're making, all the freaking money they're making off their stupid LinkedIn premium for $50 a month. I feel like I should get a cut. But anyway, LinkedIn, it's not your grandpa's LinkedIn anymore. There's, fun stuff going on LinkedIn. If you're apprehensive about going on LinkedIn, I promise it's a fun place to be. I have a lot of fun. I post on it probably way too much. My wife tells me I'm addicted to it. But anyway, Grace, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate your insights. It was awesome to have you.
Thanks so much. It was so much fun. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Happy we can help y'all vibe, thrive, slay your design careers, and looking forward to see y'all's posts. Have a nice day.
Hell yeah. Well, all right, y'all. That's it for Grace and me for today. I hope we helped to give you a new perspective on networking and especially changing how you think about places like LinkedIn. Remember, this isn't your grandpa's LinkedIn anymore. Get on there, say hey to me. I'm always posting. But I'm curious, have you started posting more on LinkedIn? How has it helped you? Have you found any ways to make LinkedIn more fun and less stuffy? Let me know what you think on LinkedIn or shoot me an email at hello@beyonduxdesign.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you like what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would really appreciate it if you left a 5-star review. That'll help me out so much more than you know. And if you know somebody who might find any of this stuff useful, then why don't you tell them about it? That would be fantastic. Don't forget to pick up your copy of my new book, Beyond UX Design, Master Your Craft Beyond Pixels and Prototypes. Unlock the secrets of UX success and learn all the things that they didn't teach you in school. Use the promo code LISTENER to get 10% off your copy. Just head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/book to pick up your copy today. Help keep the show independent and ad-free. Check out beyonduxdesign.com/support to find out how. You can join Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Radu, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, Michelle, and many others, and help keep the show independent and ad-free. You'll get rough transcripts and exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes and even episodes before they're released, and you can get instant access to the video archives for as little as $5 a month. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/Figma and use the promo code BeyondUX at checkout to get $100 off any of their Figma courses. Join over 4,000 designers from industry leaders like Shopify, Microsoft, and Amazon that have already signed up. So don't wait. Kickstart your Figma mastery journey today. Remember to sign up for the newsletter. Check out all the past episodes along with all the show notes at beyonduxdesign.com. I hope you keep coming back for more great UX tips from Beyond UX Design. And until next time, remember, you're more than a designer because there's more to UX and design. I'll see you around. Take care, y'all. What'd you think? Was that good?
Fun. I really liked it. I like your vibes, like energy.
Yeah?
I like how you added your own perspectives up to it too.